There you go. All right. So just so you guys know, we are starting to record. My name is Krista Phillips. I am the president of PMI PPRC. Welcome to our first meeting of January 2020 or of 2026 in January. For those of you that don't know, historically, this has been a meeting that we've had in person January, and this year we decided to switch it up. January and February are virtual because of weather. So if you're in Colorado Springs or in the area of Colorado on the Front Range, you know that it's snowing today. So I'm very happy that we made this decision. So anyhow, welcome. So our vision and mission. Our vision at PMI PPRC is to be the leading project management resource in our community, and our mission is to empower and inspire individuals to use project management to create excellence in their community. We are volunteer-led, so if you guys are interested in volunteering, there will be other slides, I'm sure, that say that, but we would love to have you and love for you to dip your toe into making our mission and vision as good as it can get, gold standard. Our agenda for today, we already have done our networking. Thank you so much for your participation. From now until 6:20 or maybe earlier, just for your information, speakers, we'll do the business meeting. And then from 6:30 to 7:45, our speakers will present. And from 7:45 to 8 o'clock, we will have our questions and certificates presented to our speakers. Our membership update. All right. Yeah. All right. So we have 978 members for January of 2026. We are almost at our VP of Membership, Greg John's goal of 1,000 members before he transitions to another role, which is a year from now. So if you know people that need to be members of our chapter, please let them know that we are great. We have a fun time here. So member anniversaries in December and January. We have 5 years. Norman Condi, Josh Jordan, James Chapelier, Steve Rugerman, Richard Saunders, Robert Rougebush, and Cindy Taylor. For 10 years, we have Kendrick Yowden, Ed Peters, Jacqueline Buster, Eddie Anderson, John Bartels, and for 15 years, Douglas Parr, Patrice Saravo, Leon Lohman, and James Qualley. Thank you very much if you're on the call for being members for a significant amount of years. Great milestone. New members as of December and January. Mark, who I know is on here. Thank you, Mark. Casey Malarkey, Russ Slough, Alexander Tomei, Brandon Cuff, Tara Lepore, Sridhar Raovala, Christine Jacobson, Hal Grebe, Rachel Ross, Casey Pollard, Jason Jacobson, Jace Lewis, Brian Bierman, Christy Jackson, Kyle Mishler, and Rachel Hughes. Welcome to PPRC. Sorry, I just messed up my view. 1 second, sorry. You guys can still see it okay, right? Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. New credentials for the year. These are from November of 2025 to January 2026. Justine Bader received her PMP. Christina Bowman, her PMP. Teresa Connolly, PMP. Brandon Cuff, PMP. William Domingo, PMP. Brandy Glover, PMP. Robert Goldsmith, PMI ACP. Kojo Gumdenzo, CAPM. Ian Alvarez, CAPM, Leslie Horde, CAPM, Robert Jackson, PMP, William Medley, PMP, Daniel Montano, PMP, Dietrich Reed, PMI CPMAI, Bethley Sperlin, the PMI CPMAI, Fallon Swan Henry, PMP, Sridhar Raovala, PMP, and Crystal White, PMP. Congratulations. Let's give a little bit of a round of applause from our little reactions. Good job. All right. Next, our goal, our fresh start for fiscal year 26, our goal is to reconnect with members who've lost touch with the chapter. We have 300 plus inactive members contacted. We're rebuilding engagement. Let's keep the momentum going. Reach out, re-engage, and reignite. If there are things that you feel that that would make you feel more engaged, let us know. We are very much, what's the word? We will take advice from anyone, good, bad, and the ugly. Okay. Thank you to our volunteers. This is a picture of everybody that is on the board. I ran out of time to make it prettier than this, but there are 22 people on here that serve in different roles. I want to, and this is not all of our volunteers, but these are our VPs and our directors. So thank you very much. I'm looking forward to a new year, and hopefully next time I'll have a little bit more information on that slide. All right, now I'm going to go into some information that we have for outreach. Our Women in Leadership will have events coming up this winter, and we'll have more information on the calendar as we receive it. Okay, if you'd like to be notified of upcoming events, you can use that QR code. Feel free. Everyone is everybody can join. Just because it says Women in Leadership does not mean that we discriminate. Our next Getting to Know PPRC is January 20th from 6:30 to 7:30. This is virtual. It's free. If you need PDUs, it's one PDU. This talks about what we do as a chapter. It talks about different volunteer opportunities, different outreach opportunities. It's a smaller group. It's usually no more than 10 people, with probably about 5 of them being board members. So you have the opportunity to speak to us and ask different things. And if there's things that you're interested in, this is a good forum to do them. The QR code will take you to register. You can also go to PMI PPRC.org to our calendars to register as well. I love this transition. It shows up on our PowerPoint every time somewhere. We have a new volunteer opportunity, Love Your Neighbor. It's on February 28th from 8:15 to 11:30. Love Your Neighbor builds bunk beds for those in need in the Pikes Peak region. Apparently it also has an extra thing. You can go on the website, look for your on the calendar, February 28th, click on Love Your Neighbor. Point of contact is April. She still is we still have her with the VP of Marketing. It will probably go to Carissa or April, but we will take care of you. April will be getting a new email address soon. All right. Our January open networking event is Wednesday, the 21st of January from 5 to 8. The location is Jack's on Old Ranch. No need to sign up. Just show up and look for the badges. This actually is a picture from Jack's Old Ranch from this summer. So we hope you can join us on January 21st. Our next mock application workshop is available to veterans and their family. It's on February 21st from 9 to noon at Mount Carmel Veterans Center. Feel free to sign up. You can contact the military outreach for additional information, or also go to the website to our calendar to sign up there as well. We talked about this during networking. We do have a job board. Membership is not required to get it. Right now, there is one job on our local website, but it also has a link to the PMI website for their jobs that they have posted as well. If you have jobs at your company that you are looking for good people in the project management field, this is a great place to post it. We have over 900 members, but there are other people within PMI who are looking for project management information that go here as well. So please be aware of that. There is a way to sign up to post a job, which is right here. I show it under professional development postage on. All right, so we have many different kinds of LinkedIn. We have 3 different LinkedIn pages. I don't know if that's what you call them. LinkedIn places, let's call it that. We have the official chapter PPRC page. We have a military outreach one and women in leadership as well. And then we have a Facebook page. So you can take a shot of those QR codes and connect with us, please. Thank you. LinkedIn groups or pages. All right. If you're interested in volunteering, we have open positions on Sign Up Genius, or you can go to PMI to look for them in our volunteer portal. This QR code should take you, I think, to Sign Up Genius. But you can also contact any one of us to find out what volunteer positions there are. If there's something that you would like to do or learn about, we can probably fit you in and give you the opportunity to learn about whatever it is that that you want to do. All right, I'm happy to report I was not by myself today at Ask Me Anything. It's every Thursday from 12:30 to 1. You can ask me any question about anything, or just visit or say, I'm so sorry that you're usually alone, Krista, on Thursday at 12:30. So feel free to join that. The QR code takes you there. All right. I hope you guys are ready, Trisha and Nick, because I went a lot faster than 20 minutes. So I'm going to just check real quick before I start introducing you. Nick and Trisha, are you guys ready?
I am ready.
Yep.
Okay. And Trisha, you're there too. Awesome. So and one more question. Am I moving the slides, or do you want to take over?
Do you mind presenting?
I do not mind presenting at all.
Thank you.
Okay. So let me introduce you. Trisha has a BA from SUNY Pittsburgh. I think that's how you say it.
It's Plattsburgh. I'm up in New York. Yes.
Oh, Plattsburgh. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm not from the Northeast. 20 plus years of financial and scheduling experience in multiple industries, using the earned value management system since 2006, a full-time scheduler since 2020 with Collins Aerospace. And Nick Clark, he has his PMP, PMI ACP, and PMI SP, an MBA with a CAS in data science from Syracuse University, started career in information technology and shifted into scheduling and program management. He's been a scheduler and PM since 2019 with Collins Aerospace. Welcome very much. Thank you very much for doing this. I know you guys are both on the East Coast, so it's 8:15 for you, so a little later. What I would like to do is I would suggest that everyone turn off their camera just so that they can present and we can pay attention to them. Nick and Trisha, just let me know when I need to advance the slide, please. Okay.
Sounds good. Yes. So we're going to talk about some project planning and scheduling. Trish and I both work at the Collins Aerospace industry in the scheduling capacity in different portions of the business. So we got a good amount of experience with scheduling amongst the two of us. And we've been here for quite a bit between the two of us. And also on the phone, sorry to call you out, but Jack Barnes is here, and he's another resource available at Collins Aerospace as well. So Jack will be on with us as well.
Oh, and let me plug, since you said that Jack will be presenting for us in February. So,
yes. Sorry,
thank you
Jack,
for all of you being here. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah. Oh, and it looks like we have some fellow RTX people. We have someone from Pratt as well. It's awesome to hear. We'll do the next slide, please. So at the end of this, on the right, you're going to see one of my favorite diagrams. We are talking about scheduling. Scheduling is going to be the part of the planning process that should come first. We got to get our scope in order. We got to put it in schedule. and then we got to add a budget to it. So what we want to do during this training is we want to define the requirements and methods to effectively develop and maintain an integrated master schedule. So what we are, where Trish and I sit within our business, just to give everybody a bit of a background, is we're program planners. We work alongside the value stream leader and different project managers to make sure that we get a full integrated schedule. And I think everybody's aware that all projects and all programs vary in size and complexity. We work some pretty sizable and complex programs, and we've also worked some smaller programs. Every program will benefit from a master schedule of some sort. We work some bigger programs and we work some little programs, but all of them getting your data accounted for within the IMS and getting it vetted amongst your project team is going to ensure you're getting the right amount of scope, the right amount of schedule, and the right amount of budget. In this meeting, we would like to talk about some schedule management skills. We're going to introduce some scheduling concepts. We're going to talk about our WBS structures within our schedule. So when we're setting up our schedule, the first step we want to do is build that WBS, or that work breakdown structure. That's going to give you a ticker for just about everything that you are contractually required to do. And then we want to refine those details a little further and go down a level as we're building out the schedule. We want to talk about the allocation of resources. So getting that scope in there is one part of the process. The second part we want to do is take all of our resources, all of the people we need to get this work done, and put them together in our IMS in a certain way and in a certain plan. For example, if we need a person to do drawings, let's say we're building a house and I need an architect to do drawings, we need to plan with our schedule, knowing how many drawing architects we have accordingly so that we can achieve the goals we need to for the work. We're going to talk about critical path and critical path analysis, that longest duration path throughout our schedule. We're going to talk about locking in a baseline in the schedule, and we're going to talk about processes to manage our schedule. We're going to touch on the frequency of updates of the schedule. We're going to talk about percent completes and taking those percent completes, and we're going to talk about potentially replanning for missed items and how we use our IMS as a tool to do risks, opportunities, and to look ahead at all of our schedules. We want to just remember, as we're doing this, we're going and planning the process. We're going to follow the phases of project management. We're going to plan the process, and then the schedule is going to follow us through to the completion of the project at the end. Next slide, please. So what is a schedule and why is it important? It's a network set of tasks to define when activities will occur. All projects should have a schedule. I don't know if anyone has done similar work. If you're ever interested, I could provide you some examples, but they had originally created little drawings where you have dots and you manually go and calculate the duration of a schedule. We now are lucky enough to have tools like Primavera, Project, and others available at our disposal that kind of do this work for us. In the scheduling process, we get a logical order of tasks and we define the sequence of work. As a team or as the schedule builder, we're going to sit and look at all these tasks, and we're going to look at predecessors, successors, and duration of tasks, and we're going to talk about the resources we need. Generally, as a team, I like to get more people involved in the schedule, because I find the more resources you have working your schedule, the more accurate of a schedule you're going to get. As a PM, you might not know as much what the architect or the drawing person would need. You might not know how certain things are built or how certain things are done. You want to get those experts in there to make sure you're getting a valid schedule that everybody is buying into and believing. We want to identify key workflows to critical measure points or milestones. So potentially your program or your project is paid out in milestones, so you're getting money at certain points in time. Knowing that and seeing that at the beginning of the project really does help. And the way we kind of use our schedules could help us get that information at our fingertip. The schedule is going to be the basis for our critical path analysis. So without a schedule, I have no idea how a project is going to be in length. That schedule and that knowing when everything is going to be done gives us a chance to see the true length of the project and to then look at that critical path and vet it to make sure it makes sense and it looks correct across the board. It's used to plan the estimation. That schedule that we're building is going to give us a basis of when we need certain things. So if I need a plumber and I'm building a housing schedule, I know now when the schedule's working, when I need that plumber on site working before my schedule further slips. It's looking into risks and opportunities. In this particular example that we're going to see a little later, we have a procurement task. I'm sure many people who've ran projects notice that when you are procuring, you oftentimes could be at a stop work until parts come in. Getting those key items in there and getting those different sequences helps you realize live when you need these certain paths, when you need these certain critical items before your schedule further slips. And this creation of the schedule will help us see the flow of our work and possible gaps that we have. So when I see the schedule all laid out, when I see my resources all laid out, whether we're using whatever tool, I could then sit there, look at it and analyze and think, man, I really have Joe the architect sitting here for 10 to 15 minutes. What can Joe do? Or I think he's overloaded in the beginning. How can I smooth out this work? We could plan things accordingly. When you're building a schedule, if you are using that Joe the architect example, maybe he's working 15 drawings at once. Wouldn't it be great to know exactly what drawings he needs to work first? A schedule will help us make those key decisions. Next slide, please. So the we are going to schedules. We'll talk about actuals versus planned. We're going to talk about large and complex programs, and we'll talk some more about that in a few other slides. Can we do the next slide, please? And we're going to talk first about some of our key terms in scheduling. So we'll do the next slide, please, and we'll go into them. So some of the schedules, I normally like to organize mine where milestones are on top. These are 0-day duration tasks, but they signify something major within our schedule. So on our milestones, we could have a start date, maybe a completion date, maybe we're getting paid for certain items. These are kind of our quick dashboard hit, if we're organizing it correctly, to see the real items we need and when. Other items that might be in our schedule is our LOE. They could be in our schedule. They generally may not be, but one of the items we want to draw attention to is our LOE tasks. I like to separate buckets of money between LOE and true discrete work. LOE is essentially that cost we're using to keep our lights on. So if I'm the program manager or the project manager and I'm spending my days looking at how the project's working, talking to people, managing things, you're not getting a tangible item necessarily other than the completion of the project, but you do need me working this program consistently all the time. So we're going to have a certain set of bucket to look at these works. Schedule visibility tasks are something that I'm not necessarily paying for as the program manager, but I need insight into these. So if that concrete is curing, we might have a schedule visibility task to show us that. A percent complete record is discrete work where we are taking performance if we're using earned value methodologies based on how much of that got done. So the example we're pointing to here is installing Windows. If it's day 5 and I'm scheduled to put in 10 windows and I got 50% of them done, I take 50% on that task. And that tells us if we're on track or not. If I only got 40% of the windows done and it's day 5, then we need to have a discussion why we're not on track and potentially build that activity. But getting that data planned in the beginning gives us those early indications and early warning slides of when we need to get stuff done and if we got it done correctly or not. Next slide, please. So one of the concepts we like to talk about within the schedule is time now. When we are building a schedule, we kind of need to draw a line in the sand to know exactly when we're building that schedule. So usually we schedule these around once month end. And what I like to do is I like to know what that time is. So if right now on 12, let's say we are closing out the books for 12/31 and I have a 12/31 schedule. What I want to do is I want to go on 12/31 and take performance based on when things happened and take a step in time and know exactly where my schedule was. That means if 1/7 is here and I just got news, we have a set of books for where we were, and now we're advancing our calendar into January and studying where we are going to be. Status means that the IMS is going to be updated to capture performance and reflect the adjustments to that exact date. It may not necessarily mean the date you're on. And I like to emphasize that to teams as we're scheduling and as we're planning, because let's say we're planning and we got a new news from our procurement. We might not have gotten this news before we close out December's month's book. So we want to be aware of that. It's the PE's responsibility or the project manager's responsibility to know when cost and schedule is going to be aligned and to plan that monthly. So you want to be aware of where things are and you want to be aware of where your books lie. Next slide, please. So one of the main things we're going to do when we first plan the project, and PMI, I know, has released entire books just on this topic, is set up the WBS. So project management team, scheduler, finance, program management, architects, engineers, whomever you have on the project should be collaborating and looking together at the WBS in the starting and proposal phase of the program. Some of us might work in industries where they have a standardized WBS. That's a very valuable tool. I would work with that and understand exactly what it is. The WBS will align to both cost and schedule. If we are earned value compliant on different programs, that's going to be valuable because you're going to want to know, let's say I'm tracking. So let's say we're looking at the schedule on the right. We want to know exactly where we're tracking costs. So I might have a specific account for drawings, a work package just for drawings. It would be nice to know exactly where that is. Alignment between schedule and finance is going to give us integration between that cost and that scope. So we'll have within our organization, and many can follow a similar methodology, we'll have charge numbers or buckets of money for each of these, and we'll collect costs on this line. That WBS is that structure that helps align where that schedule and that cost will connect. We're going to have work packages, which will be used for current work. And some teams, I know we might have some agile folks on here. I think I saw a few people have taken their PMI ACP. We're going to have work packages and we're going to have planning packages. We want to make sure we are planning budget for future work so we have money available, but we may not necessarily want to keep all that money in a detailed plan. We want to just kind of put that in what I would call like a planning package or a savings account so we know to refine and create more detailed structure around that later. So an example of a WBS is the one I've shown down below, where we might have the drawings setting up the drawings maybe in a work package, and that's going to be the first one. We're turning that on in a work package, but we're not doing the foundation or the buildup of the foundation until later. So those might be out in planning package chunks. Next slide, please. So what we want to do is we want to take those work packages and planning packages as we're going through the process of planning the schedule and as we're going through the process of baselining a schedule, we want to take these and assign resources to them. So what I have here to the right is an example of what that resource assignment could look like. We want to plan our resources based on when we're gonna need that. So let's say I need people to do drawings, and I have engineering team, and I have specialists in engineering team, and I have someone who's a system engineer who needs to do some drawings, and I have someone who's a material engineer who needs to do some of the drawings, and I have all these folks. We want to take a look at how much drawing, we want to get enough detail in the schedule to take a look at how much of each folks' time we need in the drawing to make sure we're not setting our individuals and our project up for failure. This is our chance in the beginning and in the planning phase of the project to make sure we're right sizing the work and getting the right people allocated and queued up to do the work. Resource allocation will work at the work package level, and using earned value methodologies, we'll be able to track how we're doing against our plan. The resources in many organizations would be examined on a monthly basis to make sure that we are working the way we are planning and that we are on track and on budget. Those are going into earned value methodologies. That's a great area to be aware of and to study and to understand. But it probably goes beyond the scope of the project. If anyone's really interested in earned value, I know PMI has also released a book on that. And if you're interested in talking about it, we could talk about it a little more offline. Next slide, please. So one of the things we're going to do is we're going to plan the project. That is the basis for all projects in the very start of the project. Once we have planned the project, the goal is to baseline it. So we want to get our team together. We want to plan the project. We want to examine everything within the schedule, make sure it looks correctly. And then we want to allocate our resources to this project we planned. And then once we are done, we are going to do a lock-in of that baseline. Right here, you're seeing it in Microsoft Project, but all tools that are scheduling should have some type of functionality for it. So you want to lock in your cost, your schedule, and your scope. You have set your plan. You've examined your contract. You have looked at it. You have reviewed it with the team. You've made sure it made sense. You've vetted it against other individuals, and everybody is aware of the process and how everything's going to work. And now you are ready to be measured against that. But just because it's there doesn't mean we ignore it. We want to make sure as we're working through our program, and every single month, we're kind of going to take a look against how we're doing against our baseline. We want to actively manage that. I think every project I've worked has deviated from the baseline. I don't know if anyone has ever witnessed a project execute directly on the baseline. If you do, I'd love to hear that story. Please reach out. But usually the projects do deviate from the baseline, and it's good to keep a track of where and why. This type of methodology helps save your project. Some PMI terms that we might have heard are gold plating or scope creep. This is your tool to manage your customer and to manage your project and how much work you're doing. Additional work and additional stuff should not be creeping its way into your schedule. We want to make sure we're following proper change control and change management within our schedule. Schedule is really our tool that kind of helps track all other areas of project management, and it's our checks and balance system. So as we're scheduling, we want to not do it in a silo. We want to make sure we are doing everything in accordance to our schedule, our contract, and our scope. And we want to make sure we have a process for change, for risk, and for opportunities that are inevitably going to come up as we are reviewing our schedule. Next slide, please. So we talked about logic early on. this is what we're doing to tick and tie everything within our schedule together. There are several different types of logic that we want to do. Regardless of the tool we're going to use, logic is going to be key for everything. First thing we're going to want in our schedule is a finish to start relate. So we're going to look at things and we're going to plan relationships accordingly. We have several different times where we could do, where we would use each of these. And each of these have a required amount of frequency within our schedule. So the first one is finish to start. Almost all relationships should be some type of finish to start. There might be a few exceptions, but you want finish to start for many of these items. So what we want to do is we want to take a certain activity, like let's say we're building our drawings. After we're done building drawings, we could review drawings. That would be a finish to start where one has to finish before the next does begin. PMI would suggest we would have about 90% of our relationships on with a finish to start. The second one we would have is a start to start. So that's saying activity A must be started before activity B can start. So you need to, we might need to start, maybe we're going to pour concrete, and as we're pouring it, we need that to start for me to start leveling it. So we could pour the concrete and level it at the same time. That might be a start to start where we're doing one and the other at the same time. Another type of relationship could be a finish to finish. Activity A must be completed before activity B could be completed. So activity A, maybe it's the blueprints, need to finish being drawn up before activity B could be finished. I might need the blueprints to be completely done before everybody could finish reviewing them. That would be a good example of a finish to finish. Start to finish might be another type where we do not want. Start to finish is one where we want to use none of. This is a very odd relationship. It would make critical path analysis a little tricky. I'm going to borrow Jack's example. The only example of a start to finish I could think of is the Tomb of the Unknown Soldiers, where someone needs to start before the other person could go off their job. So that's not going to be recognized by PMI. That can cause logical errors within our schedule, so we want to be cognizant of that. The reason we go through this diagramming and methodologies is this is tool agnostic, and this is the relationship that's going to build all of our schedules that we're doing, no matter what type of schedule we're building long term. Regardless of where we are in the tools, we need to be understanding of what these relationships are. Another concept we'd like to go through right now is lag. This is where there's a specific period between two tasks. So sometimes we might have lag for maybe concrete cure time or something like that. Scheduling gives us the opportunity to analyze this. So if I'm inheriting a schedule that Trish built and she has excessive amounts of lag, I might sit there and wonder why. Generally, I like to turn my lag into a task within the IMS and call out what that lag is for. So let's say activity A is concrete pouring, and then we need a cure time, and then we have activity B. I might, instead of putting that lag in there, just say concrete cure time in our schedule and flag it as something we're going to not have cost against. Thank you. Next slide, please. So we talked about this a little earlier. We talked about tools to do this. I saw some other tools and I heard some other tools that were available. My Agile folks might very well understand what JIRA is. That's a tool that could be beneficial by learning schedules. I oftentimes say in a scheduling seat, we want to be cognizant of what that JIRA board or what that Kanban board is going to look like. So that tool that we build as a schedule could be very beneficial to use in sequence with our Kanban board or other tools that we're doing. Microsoft Project is might be a little biased because I spent a lot of time in Microsoft Project, but it's pretty powerful and it's pretty common within the industry. It will give you some great tool sets and it has some great built-in features and it allows resource allocation. Primavera is another tool that does do cost and schedule integration, and they do integrate with some other tools too that is very beneficial. So those are some of our tools that are available. I know Monday.com is gaining in popularity. I think I saw one in here a little earlier. I personally don't have a ton of experience for these types of tools like Slack, Asana, Smart Sheets, but all of these could be really beneficial for assisting in project management. The concepts that we're going to talk about are pretty much going to apply to all tools too. So we want to be aware of it so we could figure out the nuances with these tools and work those individual items within those tool sets.
Okay, now it's my turn, Nick. Hi, everyone. Nick has done a wonderful job going through a lot of slides in a short amount of time. Nick, you were going a mile a minute. So much information. It was all really, really good information. Definitely for me to build on for the next few slides. Just to introduce myself a little bit more, I work with Jeff Stivers at the Colorado Springs site. Nick is my counterpart, but I work with the Colorado team quite a bit these days. And I went out there in September. I quite enjoyed it. I'm coming out next month. So guys, I don't want any snow on the ground when I'm there. So think good thoughts for me. Okay. I'm going to talk to the process to maintain your schedule. It's a couple slides here. So next slide. Okay. There's a thing we do called a schedule health assessment. Now, listening to you guys earlier, I definitely heard lots of different tools like Nick was just talking to. My 20 years of EVMS experience, my first half was in shipbuilding where they primarily used Primavera P6 back in the day. Coming to Collins, it's all Microsoft Project. So that's what you're hearing a lot of is our experience out of Microsoft Project. But whether you're doing Project, Primavera, any other tool, any good scheduler is going to do a kind of schedule health assessment. What is a schedule health assessment? Read the slide. It's a report with a defined set of data. It's making sure that we're being compliant. Basically, schedule health metrics, making sure the mechanics of the schedule are all on track, that we're doing the right things, that nothing's broken in the schedule. And why do we do it? It's because we're trying to provide confidence that the schedule can be used to manage the program. The more confident people are in the schedule, they're going to believe it's more accurate. And we want the most accurate schedule we can get. If you don't have confidence in it, and I've seen that unfortunately at various sites I've worked at, when you just don't believe the schedule, we just go further south with it. We typically do this before we're publishing the IMS, before we're reporting, before we're submitting, whatever word you want to use there. In Collins, we have tools within an add-on. There's SSI tool. We had our own Rockwell Collins tools, but you can also do this manually. They're typically with government programs. It's going to be your DCMA checks. We do a DCMA 14-point check. So we're looking at a lot of things, and funny you should ask, what is it? Next slide should tell us a little bit more. So next slide. Oh, best practices. Yes. So our best practices, checking these health metrics. We're going to minimize our high duration tasks. Whenever you have tasks over 2 months, it does make it harder to manage the schedule. Long lengths, there can be a lot within a 6-month task. The more you can break it down into smaller chunks, the more you can manage that schedule. Another thing in here, you want to make sure your calendar's up to date on your status date. It's January 8th right now. I'd want to make sure I'm statusing to January 8th. I'm making sure everything that was forecasted to start and finish through January 8th has an actual date, or we've reforecasted it. We want to ensure the schedule's on track to working days and holidays. Anytime I work with a team, especially new team members, they don't always understand that in schedules, we're tracking 2 working days, Monday to Friday, 8 hours a day. If we have holidays, company holidays, we want to make sure the calendars in the schedule reflect what we're working. So if we say something's going to take us 10 days, but Christmas is right in the middle, it's accounting that we're not working for Christmas. We definitely want to stay on top of that. I know there's an animation here. So if you can click again. Yes, there we go. Thank you. So I'm really good with the do nots. Anyone who works with me knows I say no. So you want to make sure that every item in your schedule has a predecessor or successor dependency. I'm always telling my teams, check your logic. Make sure every discrete task needs it. I understand if you've got some LOE items, that's another subject. But to get you through your critical path, you need to make sure every item has a predecessor or successor, because if you don't have that logic in there, it's so easy to break. And then you're not truly getting a real critical path, which we'll talk to. But you want to also make sure, I know on the DCMA metrics that I track to, we want to make sure that 95% of our logic is finished to start. Something's got to finish before you start it. That's the cleanest flow down you can have in a schedule. You can have some starts, some finishes. I'm not saying you can't, certainly. But once you start having that many starts and that many finishes, it just really convolutes your critical path, and it isn't quite so clear. So you really want to make sure there should only be 2 items in a schedule where you have a missing predecessor, and that's contract start, program start, however you want to say it. And then your contract completion, program completion shouldn't have a successor. Everything else should have logic. Another thing, when I'm working with new schedulers, I certainly make sure that we don't manually put dates in the schedule, because that automatically, at least in Microsoft Project, it's been a while on other tools, but if you manually put in dates, it automatically puts a hard constraint in the tool, and that hurts your logic. You want the logic to flow. You don't want it to automatically put that. If you are insistent you're going to hit a date, okay, add some lag. What's it going to take to get you there? Like, really look at what makes sense. And another thing, we have lots of levels in the schedules, lots of summary items. I know engineers love to group their schedules a lot of different ways. That's perfectly fine, but we want to make sure that the summary tasks that are being rolled up don't have logic on there, or it does really, it doesn't help with the paths. We'll say that. Next slide. Okay, critical path analysis. I enjoy my critical paths. So next slide. Okay, critical and driving path analysis. When we're looking at the paths, the 2 important questions we ask are, does the path make sense? Is the path achievable, believable, realistic? Okay, so for me as a scheduler, I'm not the expert. I make sure the teams know I'm not the expert, but I'm your scheduler. I'm your scheduling expert. So I don't expect a program manager to know everything, but they know who they need to talk to. So as Nick had explained, we want to make sure to get as many people in the room to be able to help us figure this out. We want the experts in there to tell us, yeah, that critical path does make sense, because if you follow the logic, yes, that makes sense. Many times I'll get the right people in the room and they'll say, Trish, where the heck, where did we get this from? And I say, I don't make this logic up. You guys gave it to me. And so we go through it, and we analyze it. Some of the stuff I ask when is it achievable? Is it realistic? I drive home the point of, don't tell me what you think I want to hear. Don't tell me what the program manager wants to tell their boss. Like, tell me what's real. Tell me what we really can achieve. We can work through the logic, but don't just tell me because you think you have to hit this date. Let the logic dictate to us what's really going to happen. Now, the difference, critical path is going to be to your program completion. Driving path, I do a lot of driving path analysis where it's to your next milestone, the following milestones. I'm working a large schedule now with many milestones. And so as a team, we come together and say, well, this is our next key milestone, but this one down the road, we really have to hit this one. So I want driving path to that every month. And so as a team, we talk through what are we truly tracking every month. So critical path gets me to that program finish, but the driving paths are just as important, because if your driving paths start pushing, your critical path starts pushing most of the time. I'm sure there's an instance or two. But next slide, we'll get a little more into it. So critical path, it's your longest continuous sequence of tasks to the program end date. A delay in any task on the critical path results in a corresponding delay to the program end date. So typically, when I pull a critical path, I do a screenshot, I show the teams, or I pull it up live, depending on how I'm presenting. I'm looking at that first lines and I'm saying, this is what we are currently working on. This is driving us. If this extends, critical path extends. And so we might hyper focus at first at that, but then you look at the rest of your flow. The secondary paths, it's your next line in the critical path for the second longest sequence in tasks. It's a good idea to keep an eye on these because they could potentially become the critical path. And then obviously tertiary critical paths are behind the secondary. Kind of makes sense. Okay, next slide. Oh, ways to shorten the schedule. This is what everyone is always trying to do. It's not always easy. Fast track, that's a term some people use. Basically fast tracking in simple terms is, can we do anything in parallel? Can we be doing things simultaneously, right? I'm not an expert. I don't know what tests can be done together. I don't know what designs, who are we waiting on? I don't know that as a scheduler, but as a scheduler, I'm going to be asking those questions to the team. We're going to want to recognize opportunities. We're going to look at the risk register, because we should be keeping risk registers as a program team, and see what opportunities are in there. Reducing scope, well, you want to look at your scope to make sure that we are doing what the contract requires, okay? One thing I have learned with engineering in my many years is we often like to make pretty widgets. We always want to make it prettier and better, but we need to look at the contract to make sure we're just not polishing the rock. And so I've had to, as a scheduler, many a time come back to the team and say, but have we fulfilled the contractual requirement? Can we go ahead and call it, done? And so that is one way. Crashing. add or adjust resources to compress the schedule. Basically, you do a lot of, you just review the schedule and look at different scenarios. What can you do? What can you add? What can you subtract? You play around with the schedule and see what can you do to bring it in. Automation, add automation in. That's not something I get to use to shorten the schedule in my world, but I'm sure out there. Just keep in mind that any of these efforts are almost always going to come with risk. And so you have to weigh the risk versus the opportunity. What's most important?
You stole my chicken.
One of the best crashing examples I could think of is sitting there and telling everybody that they're going to work overtime. Are you going to get that good of quality product out of everybody if they're working 80 hours a week? Are you going to? So you got to think about that. I did, and we did steal Jack's chicken, and I took his Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. So sorry, Jack.
That's okay. You won't hear it again next month.
See, Nick and Jack have presented these slides quite a bit. So a lot of these I haven't looked at quite as extensively as you guys. So thanks for chiming in. Here's just an example of Nick's schedule, the full sequential for the house. And what do we notice about this schedule? What's our critical path? How can we make an end date earlier? Well, looking at that, it is very sequential here. And I'm halfway blind that I can't see that screenshot. So I'm going to make it bigger. Sorry. Okay. So you can see that it's very sequential, one after another. Critical path takes you from August 1st all the way to that May 22nd date. So everything that you see on that Gantt chart to the right, that is your critical path getting you there. Now, when you say, how can you make the end date earlier, the next slide will show you. And so I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. But some of the ways you could probably make the end date earlier is looking at some of these durations. Can you shorten the durations? And like Nick pointed out, crashing, if we add more resources in, can we compress it? Can we do anything, fast track it, do it at the same time? If I was scheduling this program, what concerns or risks would I bring up? I'd be looking at every item that's over 2 months, honestly, and I would say, are you sure? 60 days, that's 3 months to do that. To buy wood, that's 50 days. I would look at that and say, can we shorten it? Why can't we? Are there other tasks within there that we can shorten to bring that in? If I was a scheduler, I would certainly be asking, well, I don't want to get ahead of myself because I know what the next slide is. But suppose the wood order was delayed 10 more days, what would happen to our schedule? So if that wood order was delayed, then that would push out March, later into March, right? And then everything past that would flow and it'd probably go into June there. So next slide is the fast tracking. And as you can see here, we are, if you look at the blue, we're going to pour concrete and we're going to buy wood at the same time. This is us doing in parallel instead of doing it sequentially. I myself, in case you don't know, I don't build houses. I would know the proper order to build a house. But I would assume you could buy something while you're busy pouring concrete. So yes, that would be one way to bring it in. There might be other examples in here. But certainly, this is when you call in the experts to ask This is when I call in my engineers and say, okay, tell me what we can do at the same time. What can we do for less? Sometimes it's, hey, this Joe Schmo has only been doing this job for a year, but Jack Black has been doing it for 10 years. Jack Black might be able to do it a lot shorter than Joe Schmo. Love my names. So sometimes the experience of the resource might be taken into account. But on the flip side, that's one thing I've seen work against us. When we bid these programs, we assume the most experienced person, and we don't get the most experienced person by the time we actually get the award. And then that pushes out schedule. So there's a lot of things you can look at for sure to compress, but you really have to look at the risks. Okay, next slide. I think we're going back to you, Nick.
Oh, we're going to talk about sources. So, this is a kind of introduction to what we have as far as scheduling tools and different items that we have to and different ways to go about it. What I did is I kind of came up with some of the items that we use to think about this. So PMI, we're all members of PMI. We're all familiar with the products that PMI has. They have great resources available. They have books on earned value. They have books on scheduling. They have books on other items. When I did the PMP, I referenced the Rita Mulcahy book. That was also a great resource for scheduling for that section. When I did the PMP, it was organized in knowledge areas and scheduling was its own chapter. I think they changed the structure of it though recently. But that was a great way to do it as well. And the other resources we have are the PPRC, that is a publicly program and scheduling excellence guide for those of us in the aerospace industry. That is a great resource, and other folks as well. It could be an excellent resource too. It kind of gives you an idea of what the industry is looking for as far as schedule duration and time. We have tools that we add as integration within our schedule. Those tools have help resources sometimes. SSI is a company that builds a plugin for Microsoft Project. Their help tools and those resources, definitely worth the read. They are very valuable information if you have access to those tools too. So lots of resources out there to think about and to look at as you're planning schedules. It's a phenomenal career or path if anyone is interested in schedule building. Three of us on the phone have managed to do it. I know for a fact.
And I was just going to add that about 6-7 years ago, I came from the cost side. I was your EVMS go-to person on the cost side. I hadn't really touched much schedule, and being remote, I hadn't networked quite as much. I hadn't met Jack just yet, and so I was just given multiple schedules from project engineers, and I had to figure out how to schedule. And I learned pretty quick, but Microsoft Project for Dummies goes a long way, and we can joke about it all you want, but that actually got me through my first year of Vermont. So just saying, there are tons of scheduling books out there that certainly got me through my first couple of years of scheduling. So PASIG, like you said, super helpful. It is very intimidating the first time you look at it because it is over 200 pages. It's quite a bit, but it's the scheduling Bible. It tells you everything.
It really does.
Yeah.
That kind of concludes what we prepared. But there's many of us on the phone right now, so I would like to hear if anyone has any particular questions on scheduling or any other types of schedule any types of scheduling questions or any types of questions at all, we could open it up. I know we kind of went through that kind of quickly, so I would love to hear if anyone has any particular topics or questions or anything they want to discuss as far as it pertains to scheduling. We do have a section on scheduling analytics. It gets pretty detailed into the analytic portion of scheduling, but I think we should do questions first, and then we could go there if we have time.
Nadina has a question.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sorry, I was muted. So this is a question that I know I usually address, but I guess for people who don't really address it that often, how do you address management not understanding the schedule or thinking that the schedule is kind of magically making things happen?
That is a great question. I always like to keep it fact-based. So as I'm presenting or analyzing or looking at a schedule and presenting it up the chain, I like to get the data in front of me and truly have a concrete answer and kind of almost let people see what that item is showing. So, for example, let's just say there's a procurement example. I'm sure everybody has worked in a situation where procurement might be a problem. Once you get that driving path pulled up on the screen and show the team what's going on, it really kind of takes the narrative, I think, out of it, and it keeps the team focused on what we currently have. So if we have 10 days of work after this part comes in, really we want to analyze that and look at what we're doing there. I oftentimes find, and this is where we kind of the benefit of multiple functions is beneficial where we sit in our org, but I often times will find people try and shorten it, and I do push back on that a lot. So I there's a reason we originally created those estimates, and I want to keep those in the schedule for the most part. And when I'm going up the chain though, or when I'm presenting to people, I try and have artifacts and keep it as fact-based and have presentations to show it. And I think Jack might be able to chime in too, because he went on camera, so I'm suspecting.
Oh, you'll have to remind me, I'm already working on next month based on what you guys are saying. I'm making modifications to what I'm saying. Repeat the question again, please.
I think if I'm remembering correctly, it was if we're going up to management, how do you make sure management understands what our schedule is showing and why, and essentially make the argument like, for example, let's say management wants us to deliver on 12/31/2027 and our books is pushing it out 4 months. How do you have that conversation? And how do you do that? Did I get that correct, Natima? Please feel free to correct me.
100%.
Yeah.
So you're not gonna hit the desired date. You're gonna be late. How do I claim and communicate to management what I need to find some modicum of success? The first thing is you got to figure it out early as you can. You need to report it. Not only that we're going to be late, why? What's the roadblock? You got to get 5 whys in there. Dig down. You can't just say, schedule shows we're going to be late, because that makes it Nick's problem, not yours. You're the problem. You have the problem. It could be somebody upstream from you that's causing you a problem, but it's manifesting itself at you. You have to go and find what that root cause is and come with a solution. I need 5 more people. I need blueprints sooner. The customer is still wishy-washy on requirements. We need help getting them, use your leverage because you can talk to them better than I can. It's finding out what that roadblock is and coming with possible solutions that they can help you with. And then you've got to let them do their magic.
Yeah.
And
No, I was
Sorry.
just going to chime in and say at Cotlands, we do it month-end reporting, and actually we're in the middle of our month-end reporting, so this is very fresh. Every month as a scheduler, I put together a slide deck, and the first thing I summarize in an email. I hit all my high points to my leadership saying, hey, guys, milestones have shifted right. Here's the driving path to that milestone. Here's your critical path. This is what's driving it. Can we shorten this? You know, how can we pull this in? I make sure to include the right engineers, the right CAMs. I know not everyone's working where we work, but bringing in the right people to be able to answer those questions. And so it's all about, like you said, bring it in as early as we can to discuss it, getting the right people involved, providing as many of the artifacts as Nick said. There's just so many pieces to it. But if the data is not right in the schedule to begin with, garbage in, garbage out, and it's going to be very obvious very quickly if we don't have the right data in that schedule. So just keep at it.
those are great points. And the other thing I would mention too, and as everybody's chiming in, I'm thinking of it. Scheduling is not in a silo. Your schedule tells you something, but we also have risks and opportunities. We have different things. Jack talked about knowing, citing, and analyzing the data early. Another part of that is tracking risks and opportunities early. So if supplier X has been notoriously late to their delivery dates, maybe we have a risk for that. Maybe we have an opportunity. Maybe we have other options to go through and take a look at it. And then you're showing, as you're presenting up the chain too, we're not just presenting a problem, we're presenting a problem where we've already digested it as we're sitting here now and putting on our project management hats, but we're presenting a problem that we've already analyzed and are actively working, and we're showing them what we're doing to do it.
You know, for example, I was in a final meeting. It was a level 0 meeting on a secure program that had some customer required equipment that had to come in. There were 6 of us in the room, including the president, 2 vice presidents, a couple of directors, and me. And the president asked, what GFE do we have that's critical to this effort, and how will it impact itself on our schedule? I'm not answering that question because I'm zippered. That's my PM that's doing that. That's answering the question. She was answering the question, but he was looking right in my eyes, looking for me to go like this. That's how much he believed and believes in the schedule, and that it's complete, and it really encompasses everything that could possibly bring a negative impact to delivery.
And that's the importance of getting your scope properly in the schedule too.
Mhm.
I don't know if Jack or Trish can relate to this, but there's nothing more defeating for a program than realizing you forgot a link or forgot something and you just pushed your critical path and you have to go share bad news.
Or you forgot a big chunk of scope, Jeff. And you have to add that into the schedule, and whoosh, there went your program end date. Yep. Oh.
Yeah.
We have a question in the chat. Robert asks, please remind me what happened to lead, as in lead time in the schedule.
What happened to lead time for?
I don't use it.
Right. So I can remember at one point in time, any government contract you bid, if you had lead time in your schedule, it was an automatic loss on the bid. But there used to be
why I
that
don't
concept
use
of
it.
lead.
I can't say I
lead
use it.
opens you up into dangling starts.
Oh, yeah.
And it goes through, it'll ripple through your critical path. I prefer if I find out something occurs at some, there's some spacer in there in between the two. I don't use a lead. I put in a milestone, a collector milestone, attach everything to that, and then I use a positive lag. So for those that may not know what lead is, it's a negative lag. It's saying I'm going to deliver something 10 days before a meeting, for example. So you take the meeting start and you subtract 10 days from it, and that's when your delivery is. We don't do that. I always put a collector and then say, I have all my documents here. I'm delivering them 10 days before the meeting. I put a little step in there. It helps visualize much better.
And if we are project users, project will scream at you with that. It impacts critical path analysis.
It'll flag on your metrics very, very quickly.
Yes. It's a good question. Thank you. Any other questions? If anyone's ever interested in being a good scheduler, present a late schedule in a room with a bunch of people who don't want to see the late schedule. It'll really amp up your schedule skills.
Did you want to go through just these analytics are very much what we use at Collins, right? This is your CEI.
Yeah. We could go through them and we could talk about some more detailed schedule terms and analysis. So we could go on to the next slide and we could go through some of these. They're fun ones.
Yeah.
So one of the things we're going to talk about is a scheduled risk assessment. I don't know if we have any data analysis or probability people, but this is a tool that comes as a function. So essentially what it does is it does statistics and data analysis to take a look at your schedule. You're going to assign risks to certain tasks based on how risky you anticipate each of those tasks being. And it's then going to spit out something that looks like this. And what this tool does is it tells you, assuming this amount of risk, your schedule could potentially slip to this date. This is a great tool for planning and for presenting. So we asked earlier how we kind of help broach these subjects to management. This is a great tool for doing that. So this will go through too, and you could get a couple of different analysis out of it, depending on what you're using for a schedule risk analysis tool. You could get a couple of different reports and analysis, and you could figure out exactly what tasks within the IMS you're going to focus in on. This is kind of a nice to know tool. So if anyone is in a scheduling seat or they're working with a scheduling firm or they have different things, these are something that could be in your back pocket to help really get some good analytics as to what could potentially go wrong on your program or what could that date be if things go wrong.
Yeah, a lot of engineers in Vermont were well aware of what an SRA was because they understood what the Monte Carlo tool was, and that's what we had been using. When we were talking about confidence in a schedule, this is key. This doing a schedule risk assessment on our riskiest programs. They're not always required by any means, but if we have a risky program, leadership typically wants us to have this kind of analytics because then it backs us up and they're like, well, you might be forecasting that date, but this is telling us it's only 20% likely we're going to hit that. Or, hey, it's 80%, it's likely. It really it can really help you or it can really hurt you. It depends on how it comes up.
My experience has been pretty helpful because kind of echoes the signs. Sometimes we get a push from management to go better and go better and go better. This kind of emphasizes what could happen. And I've had good experience with it. And it also gets the tool, it also gets the team, because some of the part of doing this, if you're going through this process, is analyzing individual tasks to see what could be the riskiest. It gets the team looking at it analytically a different way. I always am a believer in the more eyes that are on your schedule, the better your schedule is, because the more people that have, the more people have reviewed it. Not the more people editing your schedule, but the more people who are looking at your schedule, the better.
Yeah, good correction there, Nick.
So we could go into the next metric, please. The next one is the baseline execution index. Really interesting tool. What this is doing, and we could do it manually. We do not need a tool to automate this process for us. What we are doing in this process is we are analyzing the amount of tasks we baseline for each month. And then we are going to take a look at a month-to-month basis and see how many of those we're getting done. If, let's say, I baselined a program to start in September of last year, and I'm now sitting on January of this year, we might be looking good, or we might be thinking we're looking good, but baseline execution index is going to say, Nick, you were planning on getting 50 tasks done, and you got 30 done, and you didn't even get a task done until a month into the program. These are early warning signs that our program is going to be at risk. We want to be aware of how we're doing against how we planned, and we want to continually calculate this so that we are aware of where our program is standing, and we are aware if we are at risk. So in the next slide, we're going to talk about another type of index, which is a current index. Current execution index, we're going to use December month end as an example. If in December month end, I am calculating my current execution index, I have my schedule. These are just fun little analytic tools we could do on a team to make sure we're doing things correctly. Let's say we're sitting at 11/30, 2025. We just finished our predicting for December, and I sat with my team and I said, team, I need to look at this schedule. Everybody, we got 5 tasks. Are we okay? Can we get those done? Current execution index takes those 5 tasks at the end of December now, and it looks at those 5 tasks, and we say, how many of those do we get done? Let's say I got 4. I have an 80% current execution index. I got 4 out of my 5 done. The reason we like to use metrics like this as a scheduler and in a schedule seat is we get to see how well the team is predicting. Eventually, if you kick enough cans down the road, you're going to have a bow wave that you can't hit. Think of it like a balloon compressing. If I keep shoving all of those tasks, eventually that balloon's going to burst. So that burst usually comes on the back end of the project, extending. So we want to make sure as we're executing, we're not kicking enough non-critical tasks down the road that we're just going to have a bow wave of work we'll never be able to recover. I'm sure we've probably all experienced something similar to this in one way or another, but these tools and these analytics can help shed early light on this. And if we add it into earned value, I think you're teaching that next, Jack. Am I right? Or I don't, or but
Sorry, I'm gonna talk some about this. I'll definitely talk some about the current execution and the baseline as it pertains to earned value.
Yeah. So if we use that, the reason I asked Jack that is we didn't want to go too far into earned value.
Right.
But if you use this in conjunction with earned value, you're gonna see warnings.
Yeah, CEI is certainly something we use at Collins quite a bit. It is something leadership certainly loves to look at. And a lot of people coming in new to looking at scheduled data, they need to be told what the heck is CEI. They didn't understand it. And Nick did a very good explanation. It's a 30-day look ahead. It is saying I'm committing to completing these items in the next 30 days. And then 30 days down the road, you're looking back to say how much did I complete? And then you track that month to month to month. Now, if you're consistently not doing well month to month to month, that is telling leadership that why should they believe the EAC, which Jack will get into next month? But it's if you can't consistently predict 30 days in front of you, why should leadership believe your ETC? Why should they believe your critical path?
Now, and Trish, this is somewhere where, yes, I believe in critical or the current execution totally. But I feel that, and this, for those of you that want to be or are already are program managers, you can also put too much weight on what the CEI is telling you if you don't look at the baseline
The
execution
delinquencies,
index
yes.
along with it.
Yes.
This metric right here is probably one of the easiest to manipulate.
Yep.
To massage.
Yeah.
Baseline will not. This is, CEI is strictly forecast. Baseline, you got something in there that has some teeth. Use them together. I've had programs where the CEI was 80, 90, 95% every month. But the BE was the baseline index was showing an increase in backlog month over month over month. That means they were sliding their forecasts and getting behind. Use the two together. Neither one can live by itself.
And if we throw earned value into the equation, you really got a winning thing.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
They should
exactly.
reflect each other.
And when we're doing this too, this is a great way, looking at your monthly data, looking at your BEI and your CEI. It's not punitive to the team. It's a great way to keep the team on track, to look at your items and to manage your program actively. Everything should be working in concert as we're working through these items. And these tools help us keep doing that. Things happen on programs. We have risks, we have opportunities, we have different things happening on programs. And on projects, we want to use all these in concert to make sure that we're tracking our risks, our opportunities, our schedule, our items within the schedule, our scope. We want to make sure we're tracking all these together, and we want to make sure we're setting our team up and our company up for success long term by looking at all this and analyzing things early on and often, and making sure that we are keeping everybody on track and looking. Oftentimes, like Jack mentioned before, knowing earlier is going to help, because bad news never does better with age. Knowing earlier and analyzing earlier is going to help. It'll soften if there is a problem, or it'll give you an opportunity to get your core team together and really analyze risks and opportunities. And that, I think, covers all of our items. We're on our summary slide now, but I do want to encourage anybody to ask any questions, any other questions they may have. It's a great opportunity to pick on 3 schedulers.
Yeah, my name's Dwayne. I have a quick question.
Sure.
How is Collins some of these indexes that you guys are using? I haven't used at my company we use Smartsheets. I haven't used Project in a while, but how are you leveraging AI to come up with some of these reports? I'm assuming a lot of this could probably be automated, or you could throw it into AI and it can tell you real quick where your project's at.
So yeah, we have systematic tools internally that automatically calculate this for us. There's definitely opportunities to AI there. We have some fancy macro writers. There's opportunities to have Excel do these for us. Um, it's really dependent on where you are within your team and where you are within your work. I like to define it. So AI is awesome, it's beneficial and it's helpful, but to help build my skills as a scheduler, I found that doing it the manual way, even if it was for a little bit before I created a fancy tool to do it, really gave me knowledge of how these items work. So we do have some automation and some tools along the way, but I like to at least do it once or twice manually so that I know what the tools are doing behind the scenes.
Yeah, back in the day when I back in the day, 6 years ago when I started at our Vermont site, there were no tools. I had Microsoft Project and I had Excel. So I was able to do all of these manually. And as Nick said, by doing them manually, you really learn the calculations, you really understand what the heck you're looking at, you get to dive in. It was invaluable. I'm so glad I was able to do that. Didn't at the time, but appreciate it now. But yeah, they do tell us, AI is coming for us, but we're not quite there yet. But we definitely do have some very, very skilled engineers that have created some great tools for us.
And I'm fine with AI. You probably look at the white hair and go, wow, where is this guy from? I'm from another universe. I still have a slide rule and I still know how to use it. The important thing about any tool, whether it be AI or a spreadsheet or anything, is to never accept its results that it gives. You should be sitting there asking, does this make sense? And I would have retired 2 decades ago if I had $5 for every time I had teachers in high school or teachers in university that said, does that make sense? Check yourself. Does that make sense? That's the part of scheduling, the part of earned value that truly makes you valuable, because you can start to sniff out what isn't going right. I'm just not believing what the data is telling me. So do we have a problem in what was entered, or do we have a perception problem of what's really going on? There's so many variables. Sure, AI can help corral them, but it's not necessarily the right corral or the right brand on the beef. You got to make sure that it really, really makes sense. Don't accept anything just on face value.
A perfect example is the other day we had to we did an activity for an agile team and they needed a haiku on Valentine's Day or something. I guess it wasn't the other day, that's a year ago. But they needed a haiku on Valentine's Day. I had AI generate it and I lost a brain cell remembering this, but I remembered it was not the right rhythm from the haiku I originally knew. AI did not get it right. We had to kind of validity check it, but you had to know enough to know that it wasn't right. Can be an early alert, but yes. And manually looking at the data too, as we did that, I don't, I manually looking at our data and analyzing it, it prevents you from being in an odd position with leadership or management or someone if they look at the data and it was just automatically generated. It gives you a chance to interact and own the data you're presenting on the project.
Any other questions? I'm going to move one more slide. Okay, there we go. Do you, Nick or Trish, there on your conclusion activity, I think you guys kind of cover those key takeaways and what scheduling patterns are you going to change moving forward? Were your questions? Does anyone want to make a comment on those two questions?
You're such a talkative bunch.
I know. I will tell you, like for me, this was great. I am an IT project manager where I am told this is when we're going to go live and I have to backwards do whatever we need to do for it. And nobody has project. Nobody wants to look at project. They just want to look at pretty pictures on slides. So that's really neat. But I mean, this was great. Thank you very much for your time.
You're
Anyone
welcome.
else? Yeah.
Here's the fun thing for those of you that have IT deadlines. In my first iteration of my profession, I sat in a master control of a television station, and yes, you had network news at maybe 1 a.m., and you had to back time everything from the time your newscast ended at 10:30 until you hit network at 1 a.m.
Oh, wow.
And you had to just manually did it in your head.
Right.
Yeah, they still had television back then. Before streaming became a thing, you know?
Yeah.
My previous world of IT is what inspired me to do the PMP and go into project management more so because IT, when I was in IT and the teams I worked with, I'm like, I think there's a skill to be learned here. I think I could be better at this. And that's what inspired me to get involved with PMI.
Yeah.
And
I started as a developer, so I completely understand that. Yes. Yeah. It was very important I had to have my own schedule. So. All right. Is there any other questions for Nick and Tricia? I think if you were looking at the deck I'm sharing, you may have seen what's next. So, yeah, Claire just asked if we can connect with you guys. If you want to pop your LinkedIn in the chat, if you want to do that, please feel free. Thank you guys so much for being here. Jeff, do you want me to print out these speaker appreciation certificates and you can send them to Tricia and Nick, or how do you want to?
Yeah, I'll take care of it.
Okay. All right. Very good. So this is if we were in person in the snow, we would present this to you physically. But thank you very much, Tricia, and thank you very much, Nick. We have. Oh, did you guys decide who your honorariums are for? I don't think we had that. You can cut back with us, but we will be donating for Tricia and Nick $100 to a charity or an honorarium of their choice. You guys just get back to us with that. So did somebody say something? I'm sorry.
Oh, I was just saying thank you. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. Thanks. So 3 members have won a free future meeting online. Membership will send those to you. The people that won, I thought this was updated, but it's not. So hold on. The people that had won are Johnny Ward, Natima Harrison, and Patty Botchaicher. I am sorry, I butchered that name. I always do. But thank you very much. You will get an email sent to the email that you have registered as for PMI. and it will have a coupon code for a free future meeting. All right, congratulations. Next, we have a PDU code. This will come out also in our survey that will come out after the meeting. It's 2 PDUs for ways of working. Will also be in the survey. PMI loves to do zeros and ones. I mean, zeros and O's. I think both of these are zeros. 0164 WPG cube 0U. So thank you. Next thing is we have upcoming events. We have Getting to Know PPRC on the 20th, Open Networking at Jack's Old Ranch on the 21st. On the 12th, Jack will be speaking about PM fundamentals, earned value management. 17th, another Getting to Know PPRC. The 18th is the PPRC pop-up and new member networking at Peaks and Pines on Tut Road. For that one, those of you that like networking and free appetizers, there will be free appetizers. At our new member networking, we pay for some appetizers. 28th is our social good opportunity, love your neighbor. And then on the 12th of March, we have another chapter meeting on PM fundamentals awareness. Your competitive edge for now in the AI age. So please join us for those. Again, we have a growth mindset here at PMI PPRC. Please give us all of your feedback. Please fill out the survey. Let us know what we're doing well and what we can do better. I will stay on if there are people that want to talk about job opportunities that you have or you're looking for, we put that in the chat as well. As a reminder, this meeting is recorded and it will be sent out this weekend. And thank you so much for your time, Trish and Nick. Thank you for your time and showing us about scheduling. We appreciate it. So you can feel free to drop off now. I will stick around if there are people that want to talk, or I'll stick around till everybody leaves, or it's 8 o'clock.
Alrighty.
Take care. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wayne Middleton.
Did he see you?
I don't know. Dwayne Middleton. Are you still on?
I think he.
Oh,
he's right there.
Joanne. Oh, there's Joanne. Hey, Joanne, how's it going?
How are you?
I am doing well. I'm doing well. How are you?